first got into F1 rather a long time ago now, in fact. It was during the 1950s when I was a lad. And you've got to remember that in the 1950s, Formula One, which started in 1950 itself, had been dominated by the Italians and the Germans, Mercedes, and also Fangio was the great Argentinian driver, was the main victor of many of those races. And so Britain really didn't have a look in. When in 1957, Stirling Moss and Tony Brooks won the British Grand Prix at Aintree, the country went mad. It was actually incredible. It was already aware about Fangio and Ferrari and things of that sort, but this is when really the whole thing kicked off. Obviously, I was very gratified for the book to be nominated for the 2013 Sports Book of the Year, and really that's been the pleasure out of all the hard work that goes into a book is the reception it's received, not only in the way it's sold, because we're now onto the third edition, suggesting that it's done really quite well in terms of response from the fans who are buying it, but also because great names, in fact from Sky Sports F1, have been prepared to put their name to it in the foreword. Martin Brundle put his name to the foreword for the first two editions, and now David Croft, our own Crofty, has added his name to this latest one. Furthermore, I bumped into another great commentator, Murray Walker, the other week at Silverstone, and he was filled with praise and was delighted to know there was a new edition of this brilliant book, as he put it. And that, of course, is the sort of thing that does give an author a lot of pleasure. There are some superb illustrations by the French artist Alain Baudouin in the book of every single winning Formula One car. It's over 200 illustrations. Alain Baudouin and I got together. I'd heard about him through other sources, and he's the only man I've ever met who has actually illustrated or painted every single winning car, and I'm the only person, perhaps, who has written about every single race. And it seemed a natural coming together, a bit like Williams-Renault in the heyday of the Williams team. It was a great Anglo-French partnership, worked fantastically well, and that's exactly what we've got here with Alan's contribution to this book. I decided to write Formula One All the Races because although I've got an extensive Formula One library, I felt there was something missing on the bookshelf. And I felt that there was a need for a book which quite succinctly gave you the flavour of every single Grand Prix that's taken place in one single volume. So you can take it down off the shelf and you can check it or read through or do whatever you're trying to do to pick up on particular races and quickly understand, oh, that race, and know all the facts and details about it. Now, a race pod is really the essence of the book. It's the building blocks, if you like, of Formula One All the Races. Because not only does it give you the results, but it also gives you a written report and also what I call the dynamics of the race. In other words, such information as pole position, the fastest lap, but more than that, the pit stops for each driver, the tyre strategy in recent time, the leaders of each race, information which when you read the report and connect it to this dynamic information, you get a very clear idea of exactly what happened in that race and the nature of it and its outcome, which you then see in the results. Knowledge pods are themed collections of famous races. So the closest finishes, the races which threw up an exceptional result and a surprise result, perhaps a driver who doesn't normally win, like Maldonado won in Spain a few years ago. I mean, nobody expected that. And that's been happening, obviously, over the decades, and it's fascinating to read that collection. The great wet weather drives. I mean, always when you see Formula One cars and whether you can't understand how they can actually race competitively in those sort of conditions. And some of the drives that have been made are folklore, and they're listed in a knowledge pod. So you go online, you look up knowledge pods. This is formulaonalltheraces.com. Go to the knowledge pods, click on it, and you will be given an array of different titles. There are about, I don't know, 12 to 15 at the present time, and I'm adding them all the time. Just added one for the Monaco Grand Prix, Monaco Magic, absolutely wonderful insight into the Monaco Grand Prix over the years, the highlights and happenings. And then you're in a position where you can use the book to trace through these wonderful and famous races and obviously get to know your Formula One history even better than you may do already. So on the website, formulaonalltheraces.com, as well as knowledge pods and my blog and some other good stuff, in December you will have an opportunity to download the 2016 season. It's being produced by the publishers in full colour, to the same format and content style as the book, but it allows you to keep your resources of Formula One All the Races right up to date. And it will come out in December, and so it's in good time for a nice Christmas, New Year read that you can enjoy over the holiday period.